So, good evening, everyone. This is Chris Attwood, and I'm so excited that you're here this evening with us to join us in this series, Rituals of the Rich and Famous. You know, our new book, Your Hidden Riches, Unleashing the Power of Ritual to Create a Life of Meaning and Purpose, will be released on October 21st. And if you've been following us at all, maybe you've been wondering, well, why do they write a book? Why do they scratch their head? Why do they write a book about rituals? And the reason we've written a book about rituals, one of the reasons, is because it's the unspoken secret that all successful people use to improve their lives in one way or another. Many people, like World Cup soccer player Leighton Barnes, uses a simple ritual. Every time he goes on the playing field, he unties and ties his shoes. Why does he do that? He does it because it allows him to separate his ordinary daily life from the time when he has to perform at his best, where he wants to give his best performance, and also to be able to stay calm even with 100,000 fans screaming in the stands while he's playing. And why does someone like Simon Cowell climb a tree every day? Of all things, climbing a tree. Why would such a successful multimillionaire climb a tree every day? And my guess is, not only does it give him exercise, but it's so radically different from most of the things that he's doing every day in his life that it gives him a chance to relax in a way that doing something else simply doesn't. And so in this series, we wanted to give you the opportunity to hear from some very, very successful people about how they use ritual and why they use ritual. Because when we talk about ritual, we're not talking about habits. You know, we all have good habits and bad habits, these things that develop unconsciously in our lives. And we're not talking about religious practices necessarily or superstition. We're talking about conscious, intentional practices you add to your life because they improve your life in one way or another. You choose to make them habitual. And this evening, I'm so happy and excited to have a dear, dear friend, very incredibly successful woman who's here to share her experience of ritual with us, and who has been using ritual for many, many years, for a long, long time. We'll talk to her more about it. Mary Morrissey is founder and owner of the Life Mastery Institute, the premier transformational training company. And as a world-class inspirational speaker, executive coach, and corporate consultant, Mary has 30 years' experience of empowering individuals in achieving new heights of spiritual aliveness, wealth, and authentic success. As a sought-after expert on the spiritual side of success, Mary has spoken 3 times at the United Nations, facilitated 3 different meetings with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and met with Nelson Mandela in Cape Town, South Africa, to address the most significant issues our world is facing today. And so, Mary, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Chris Attwood. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, so, Mary, we've had the good fortune to spend some wonderful times together. And Mary is also a member of the Transformational Leadership Council, founded by Jack Canfield, and we just got done celebrating the 10th anniversary of that organization, which, of course, I always like to mention, came about because Jack took the passion test from our first book, took the passion test, realized that being part of a spiritual leaders group like that was one of his passions that he wasn't living. And so this year we celebrated 10 years, and Mary was there, and of course Mary's rituals are an integral part of the TLC. We always begin with lighting a light at the beginning of the meetings, and they're woven all the way through the TLC meetings. And I know that you incorporate rituals in your life, in both your business life and your personal life. So thank you for agreeing to give us a little peek into your world. And would you begin by just sharing with us, how do you use rituals when it comes to your business and your work?
In terms of my business and my work, in every business, part of the act of creating a business is to have a vision for what you want the business to be and what you want the business to do. And so one of the things I do as I'm in my business life is the first thing I do, I don't get onto my email, I don't do any business, what looks like business activity. When I walk into my office, I've created my office and this was really a vision, it was double doors where I would, when I opened the doors to my office, I've created a sense of sanctuary, not only for my work, but for my soul. And so as I open the doors and I take a deep breath, the first thing I do is on my wall, I have the vision for my company. And I turn and I read my vision out loud. And then I begin my day. And it's not a long vision. It takes about between 45 seconds and a minute. But what it does is, I believe, it grounds my energy, it focuses my mind, and it fuels my passion. And that's how I begin my business day. When I begin a business meeting, I brought a prop for tonight's class, tonight's call. I had the privilege of, the first time I met with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, I went to Dharmasala to take a meeting with him as he was considering what he wanted to do with these week-long meetings. And I went to the gallery and I made a contribution to the Tibetan Refugee Fund and was able to bring back with me these Tibetan bells from a temple in Tibet. And when I tell my team, as my executives and my marketing director and all the people that help create business, and it's important that we tune to the same rhythm of what we're about. And so I ring the bells, and I'll just ring them once. So I'd encourage all of us who are on this call right now, think about something you would love in your life, whether it's the love of your life, or you want to increase your business, or you want a health health improvement, or something that you would love to have more, be more, give more. Get something in mind. And then as you hear the bells, just know that the sound of the bells reminds us that there is a power that we can connect to that knows all things and is capable of all things. And that very power is breathing us, actually.
Oh, I love the sound of those bells.
So it helps me. When I said there is a power, I actually believe that. I've spent my life focusing on helping individuals discover that they are more than they've known themselves to be, and they contain far much more than they've ever thought, and they literally can change the landscape of their results. And I do believe that ritual is, and I loved it, Chris, what you said, it's an unspoken tool of successful people. And I just believe that this book you two have done is going to really open the door for people to really recognize that they can choose consciously rituals that increase the potential that's in them to really live lives they love living.
Yeah, that's our hope. And one of the things I so appreciate about Mary is that you get it so well. How long have you been using rituals in your life, and consciously in one way?
Consciously. Since 1972. I had an experience in the late part of 1971 where I really touched a part of myself that I didn't even know existed. Up until that point, I literally thought life was happening to me. I didn't know that life was proceeding through me, and that I could literally change my relationship with this thing called life. And I literally felt, Chris, after that a series of experiences, that I had been living like in the attic of myself. And somehow I found a way to the front door and opened the door, and here was this technicolor world of possibility and potential and promise. And I began to discover that little things I could do, that little hinges do swing big doors. And little rituals could have big effects in how I experienced my day and myself, and ultimately my life and results.
Now, you've shared with us a couple of the rituals you use. You said that I love the little hinges can swing big doors. Could you give us a couple of examples of where rituals you felt made a significant contribution to things that were important to you in your life?
I'd never even heard the term morning practice. Now, some people have a big, long, extended morning practice, but we all have, and I loved it the way you described it, that this is not a habit. But if we take a look at how we begin our day, most of us begin our day by habit and not by ritual. Right. And when we understand that, wow, I could begin my day any way I choose that's empowering to me, if I install a ritual that I feel empowered by doing, and then I habitate it. I live into it on a repeated basis. Right. So that turns it into a habit because I've habitated it. And literally, I believe that. Right. I inhabit it, you know. So I began to recognize in the early stages of that early 70s that I began my day with my to-do list. And then so I began to shift that from a to-do list to a to-be list. Mm-hmm. And I just simply began to, there are two things I do in the morning that are my morning practice, and I don't put my feet on the floor until I've done these two things. And I know that this particular ritual for me has, I look at my life and where it is. I mentioned to you as we were getting ready for the call that I'm in Los Angeles area at a Marriott getting ready, my team and I, for 300 coaches arriving, brand new coaches who are going to go through our certification program, that are going to go in the world and help other people live from their potential. I know you and Janet do an amazing coaching certification program. So those of us that have the privilege of living lives of expansiveness, we look into what are the things we've done that have really created much more expansive success. I know that the way I begin my day, so here's how it works. I know that gratitude is the frequency that's harmonious with abundance. Mm-hmm. And most people have a knee-jerk gratitude. They're gratitude for something or after something. And as I studied this, I began to realize, oh, if I generate gratitude, I am more harmonious. I'm actually an attraction point for more abundance in what I get focused on, what I say matters to me. So as I begin my day, there's that moment where you can feel yourself waking up. Your eyes are not open, but you're coming to conscious awareness. And I have practiced for many years that the first thing I do is I notice that I'm waking up, is I say these words to myself. This is a brand new baby day. This day, it's a baby day because it hasn't been lived by me yet. It's my day. This is a brand new baby day. This is an unrepeatable, remarkable, irreplaceable page in the book of my life. The book of my life began, I'm stepping aside here, the book of my life literally began my human life began May 25th, 1949. And there are pages going by. Every single day is one of those pages. And I write the content of that day by how I interact with the day. And so I recognize this page is blank. I'm just beginning to open my eyes. It's a blank canvas. This is unrepeatable, remarkable, irreplaceable. And I speak the words, not just with the words, until I generate a sense of gratitude at the gift. Not everybody woke up this morning on the planet. Not everybody gets that privilege. And I don't want to take today without bringing to the day my awareness and my experience of the precious sacred gift that I have to get to have a day of life. Nobody gets to think my thoughts, choose my actions, or do what I'm privileged to be able to choose to do. And so it helps me then choose to, right behind recognizing the power of the gift of the day, and all of this takes about a minute or a minute and a half, is I generate the gratitude, recognize the power and the gift of the day, and then, and who am I going to be today? And usually because I have goals and I have dreams and I have projects and strategic initiatives, things that matter to me, as we all do, then who's the person, who am I going to be today that is in harmony with the things that matter to me? And the qualities. So I focus on 3 qualities that I'm going to practice being in a really strong way that day. And then I'm on a beam. Then I put my feet on the floor and begin my day.
I love that. What a great ritual. And there are a couple of things you said that I want to make sure all of our listeners got. One is that rituals don't have to take a long time. They, a minute, minute and a half. And yet they can set the whole tone. What I hear is that they set the whole tone for your day. Mm-hmm. And what many people, I think, don't recognize, that you clearly do, Mary, is that our minds are so powerful. And where we put our attention is so powerful. And what I hear in your ritual is that you're consciously choosing to put your attention on what you'll create. It reminds me a little bit of Benjamin Franklin's ritual, that every morning when he would get up, he would say, "What good am I going to do today?" And then
I love that.
Yeah, and then every night before he went to bed, he'd say, "What good did I do today?" So he'd reflect on the day as well. And I hear a little bit of that in yours. Now, one of the things we included in our book, Mary, is the fact that in the ancient texts from India, but in many traditions around the world, they say that only 25% of life can be experienced with our senses, can be seen. 75% is unseen. most people, unfortunately, limit their lives, the majority of their lives, to what they can experience with their senses. They think that's where things happen. But obviously, if 75% is unseen, that's probably more likely where most of the things are happening. And I wonder if you would talk a little bit about, from your own experience, how rituals allow you to connect with this 75% of unseen aspect of life, and how you feel that that affects what we can see in terms of your own life.
Great question. When we think of the things that, or whatever we can see or apprehend through our five senses, that, as you mentioned, that's about 25% of really the life that we're capable of experiencing. That doesn't mean we will experience it. It means we're capable of experiencing so much more life as we begin to build relationship and connection with the invisible side of our nature, which is another name for this 75% of ourself. I call it the thing breathing me, the very power. I can't breathe myself. I can't even make my heart beat one time. This is a sacred thing happening. It's an interaction between me and life itself. And I get the privilege of being, in essence, the switching station between this infinite side of my nature and the finite expression of my connection to spirit. Is my name for it, or soul, or life. People call it many different names. Energy. Some people call it energy, or the universe. But when we recognize that there is more to us than we can see, and in fact, we don't live in our bodies live in us. And for me, rituals of the gratitude ritual and who I'm going to be today, the very fact that I can even have in my mind consider possibilities for who I want to be, that is not something that's coming from the physical world. It's coming from a part of me where there's a longing for a greater, freer, fuller life. You know, Chris, the Talmud says, every blade of grass has an angel that leans over it and whispers, grow, grow, grow. And that blade of grass will press through cement, seeking the light. Yes. And that same liveness is seeking in every one of us for a greater, freer, fuller expression, and why rituals matter. And I mean, I didn't know the one about Benjamin Franklin, but I will incorporate that. I love that. Is that for me, over the years, there's been a sense of not only connecting to potential and having greater results in my external world. That's truly happened. And I live a life that I love living, and I'm free to do the things that really matter to me, and I think that's what any of us who define success, it's elusive, but it has a lot to do with freedom. Freedom to make your difference, freedom to go where you want to go, do what you want to do, and even more importantly, give what you want to give.
And enjoy a new grandbaby, if I'm correct.
Yes, I have a brand new grandbaby in my life. But the spiritual side of that is that who you become in the process. And so ritual for me, in terms of, Thich Nhat Hanh did a ritual experience one time where he put a tangerine in our hands and then spoke about really get to know this tangerine and think about the sunlight that actually has gone into this tangerine, and open it and really smell it and smell the citrusy smell. And I mean, it was a 3 or 4 minute ritual of the way in which we both held, opened, and then ate a tangerine. Now, I'd eaten lots of tangerines in my life, but I had never really recognized that I could make just the very act of eating a tangerine instead of something casual and just get it done, really an interaction between me and sunlight and space and potential and this very moment. Yes. So to me, that is one of the ways that I connect with the infinite side of my nature, is to stay present in the moment and really engage in the moment, whether I'm on a phone call or I'm writing an email or whatever the thing is that I'm doing. If I can stay connected to the very moment I'm in, and I'm not perfect at it, but that becomes a ritual of present moment aliveness. Right. And that's why the little rituals over time have brought, when I said little hinges swing big doors, is that little rituals of helping me stay attuned to and awake to, I'm part of something that's way more than I've known. And I'm connected to this very life that's breathing me, and it is sufficient to the moment I'm in. ideas come, answers occur, synchronicities happen, and things look like they come out of the blue, but it's all part of that being connected, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So, if you were to talk to anyone, and now you're getting to talk to a lot of people, but so talk to us a little bit about why would someone who really hasn't been exposed to ritual, you've talked to us about how you use ritual and how you incorporate it, and you've talked about some of the personal benefits that you experienced from it, but what would you say to someone who's thinking, well, I don't know where to begin, you know, I don't know, and how is this really going to benefit my life? Where do I start? How will it benefit me? Could you just talk a little bit about where people should start if they're thinking, well, maybe this ritual thing's worth trying?
Yeah. Well, I would suggest that you do give it a try. I mean, until we try something, we never know whether or not it can mean something. And when you hear Chris, particularly at the beginning of this call, speaking about successful people and the series of rituals that, whether it's tying or untying your shoes, because that actually creates a marker moment between having been an ordinary person and now I'm stepping on the field of my own expertise in a way that matters to me. So I want to separate my noticing of this, what's happening in the stands, and I want to be fully present in this moment to be my very best.
Right.
And I would say that we think about what matters most to us. And that will be different for every one of us. What matters most to you? Where is your field that you want to be your best? And when do you step onto that field? For me, when I finish my morning and I go into my office, that's one of the places I want to be my best. It's the planning I do, the transactions of speaking to people, different things I do. So I create a ritual, how I step through the door, and what's the first thing I do. When you think about and perhaps there was a ritual I heard years and years ago that a very successful businessman had, and he wrote about it, and he said that as he grew in his success, as his business grew and grew, he started taking more and more of his business problems home. And he found himself one night growling at his child, who simply wanted a bit of his father's attention. And his son just shocked because his son was saying, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." He says, "Stop!" And the son jerked and then went off and closed the door to his bedroom. His 6-year-old.
Oh.
And he went, "I got to find a way to change this, or I'm going to be the dad that is the absent. I'm in the house, but I'm absent. I'm absent."
Right.
And so he just thought, what could I do so that I could be more present once I do come home? And he thought that this idea came to him, but he practiced it. And by the time I heard him speak about it, it was 15 years later. And of course, his son is having his 21st birthday, and they'd gone camp, all the things that had happened by means of this one ritual. And when he got out of the car, he had his briefcase in his hand because he was going to do some work later. And he was thinking about work. As he stepped onto the sidewalk that went up to the house, he paused. There was a tree right by the front, right outside the front door, at the last part of the sidewalk before he stepped up on the porch. There was a tree, and he literally turned and imaginally grabbed all his concerns and hung them on the tree.
I love it.
And said, "I'll pick you up in the morning on our way back to work, but you don't get to come in the house with me and my family."
Oh.
And then he said, as he stepped through the door, he closed the door consciously to everything that was bothersome to him. He said it was amazing how heavy the tree looked with his problems when he would go at night, and how light it would look in the morning when he was ready to come back to work.
I love that. What a great example. So, and there are a couple of things that you said that I just want to point out for those who are listening. One is that rituals that are useful have personal meaning for you. And, you know, we all may have some memories of being at some holiday dinner where no one wanted to be there and nobody's talking to each other, you know, and yes, it's a ritual, but it's not a ritual that was touching your heart. You know, it was not a ritual that had meaning for you personally. And so meaningless rituals are not of much value. Wouldn't you agree, Mary?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so as you're designing rituals in your own life, just as this man did, create rituals that actually have meaning for you, that will help you to be more present, to be more connected to the things you love and care about. And And then the other aspect of it is particularly in the beginning, to design rituals that are easy to do. Because if it's easy and it has meaning for you, then you'll do it again and again. And as Mary shared with us on this call, this act of repetition allows you to inhabit the ritual, that the ritual becomes a habitual part of your life, and through that then creates the influence that, just as the examples that Mary shared with us tonight. Now, for those of you who think, wow, this whole ritual thing is pretty cool, but I'd really like to understand more about it and how I could even apply it to improving my health or my investments or my spiritual life or to my success in one way or another, I want to invite you to think about coming, not just think about, but actually come to our Hidden Riches Experience event, October 24th to 26th in Chicago. And you can learn all about it by going to hiddenrichesexperience.com. One of the speakers at that event is going to be Mary Morrissey. And so, Mary, I wonder, as we are about to close this evening, if you would take a couple of minutes and share with people, when they attend the event in Chicago, what are they going to learn from your talk, from your presentation at the Hidden Riches Experience?
Thank you, Chris. I have to just say, I am so, there are workshops and there are events, but this particular event is going to be a groundbreaking event. What you and Janet and the constellation of the speakers that you've put together, if you only go to one event in the next 12 months, I'm going to say to everybody listening, make this your event. It will be a trajectory changer for the success factor in your life. So what I'm bringing, my focus and my specialty is in helping people take a possibility and turn it into the reality of their life. So I'm going to be introducing very simple but highly effective rituals for dream building. Not just having ideas of possibilities, but literally how you take them from the invisible side of your nature in a very simple but very strategic and amazingly effective way that literally changes that from an idea right into the form of your life. So we're doing rituals for dream building.
Wonderful. Yay. So I'm so excited. I'm thrilled that you're going to be there, and I'm thrilled that people will have a real depth of experience, because at this event they're not only going to just hear speakers, but every day will begin with a ritual, end with a ritual. We'll have ritual practitioners from different cultures around the world who will be there as well to introduce a richness to the whole experience, and we have some amazing musicians who are also experts in ritual practice. So this is why we called it the Hidden Riches Experience. It's not just an event to attend, it's really truly an experience to immerse yourself and then to be able to take home tools, just as the ones you'll be sharing, Mary, that you can put to use right away. So again, please go to Hidden Riches Experience, and you can register there. We'll look forward to seeing you. And Mary, I can't wait to see you once again. I love every time we have the chance to hang out together and be together.
Me too.
And thank you for taking this time. I know that you have so much going on. You're beginning this big seminar tomorrow, and so thank you so much for taking this time with us this evening.
A privilege.
And we'll see you in October.
Okay, yay.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Good night.
Good night.